happening is you end up having influential rich people who stand up for votes. They then get the votes, and then even if 2 million of us march against the war, the government just ignores us and they just go and do it anyway. You understand my point? But within the Islamic way of electing people, first of all, there's a few caveats, a few rules. Number one, I cannot stand up myself and say that I want to be elected. That's the first rule. It has to be the group or people in that community. Well, what it says is that
the impression the media gives is that you're against democracy, so presumably dictatorships.
No, not at all. In fact, dictatorships are un-Islamic in their construction and in their execution. What Islam says, sir, is, I'll explain to you very quickly. The community, they themselves decide on someone that they are aware of, and then they say that they want this person to represent their community. So, for example, this gentleman here could be a doctor. He could be very educated, he could be very articulate, he could be very noble in character. So all of the community will say, you know what, we want this man to lead us. He can't stand up for elections himself, but he's chosen by the people. Then, let me just go on a little bit further. Then all of the people from their communities, they would all get together, and they, amongst themselves, would then choose an Amir, the person who they think is best suited to lead. Not at the moment, no, sir. Yes. There's two reasons for that, sir. The first reason is that it's still very much influential through money, through power, through notoriety of people who know them. So when we compare the Islamic system, it's a very fair system.
Although when you say people can't stand for election, they have to be put forward. Someone happens here, if people are going to be a Labour Party candidate, they've got to be nominated by the local Labour Party plan.
I think the difference here is this, sir. The difference is that
you have to have nominations.
The difference is it's not the party that gets the most money, and it's not the party that has the most influence.
Same for election, you have to have, I think, 20 or 50 local voters nominated. For small parties sometimes have to go knocking on doors to get nominations.
Yes.
So they have to get 50 local voters to nominate. So people can't just stand themselves. They have to put forward.
I think so. You're absolutely right. But what you have to appreciate at the moment, what we have in England, is we have a system where if you go to Eton and you're one of the boys, you have a much greater chance of getting into politics and getting into the government. Now that's not really fair or right either, is it? That is clearly a system where people who are influential through their lineage, right, through who they were born to, and also their finances and what have you. Exactly. So what I'm trying to say to you is that it's clearly not a fair system.
We may have one person, one vote in it, but it's only rich people who own all the media and make clear what to think about them. They give us their ideas about the way they want us to think about things. So that's changing it with the internet. Now more people can reach a bigger audience through the internet. I mean, 30 years ago, it was only the television that most people got most of their ideas from. And they were mostly owned by wealthy people, yeah.
And that's what we have in the media as well. In the media today, we've got an influence by a few elite who are very rich, and they're very, very influential within the media.
Well,
so they can basically propagate whatever idea.
Now just spread your ideas around.
Absolutely.
With the internet.
Absolutely.
I mean, I can put television programs on the internet.
Yes.
So can everybody else.
Yes, but they certainly wouldn't have. They wouldn't have the backing of the finances that are so crucial often to get that message out to many millions of people. So it still is an imbalance, isn't it?
So really what you have is a better form of democracy.
It's a form of democracy where the people themselves decide who they want to govern.
And they're not so heavily influenced by the people who've got the wealth. Dominate
yourself at all?
Well, I'm interested to find out, and I'd like to hear your version of it, which I have done, yeah. But I say,
what do you believe at the moment?
It's an example of how the media colours our things. They say on the TV that Islam is, that Muslims have bombed the people queuing up to vote because they're against democratic government. So we're left with the impression that the Muslims must want dictatorship, you know. And that's the impression the media gives us. So
I think
you mentioned exploding.
yeah, I think what we have to appreciate is that...
You were perhaps ought to complain to like the BBC News, because
many people do, and it doesn't make any difference.
That's where I get my information from.
Can I ask you, what is it that you believe in terms of, do you believe in God? What made you change your mind?
Well, I got into Christianity, but I realised the Bible couldn't possibly be correct. I got books that took the Bible apart and showed me so many things that couldn't possibly be correct.
Yeah. But, I mean, so basically you're saying that you did believe in God, you studied a bit of Christianity, and then looking at the Bible you decided that this was not... Have you had a chance to study?
Well, I came across a book, it's called The Bible Handbook by Foot and Paul. It was published in the 1880s. Yeah. And then meticulously went through the Bible and found all the faults you could find with it. Contradictions, absurdities, atrocities, even obscenities. In fact, we had a chapter on obscenities. And they said, unlike all the other chapters, we're not going to quote these. Yes. Because if we do, the court will decide it's to solve the term.
Yes. You can't mention it to your daughter, basically.
That was the position in the 1880s.
Yes. Have you studied any comparative religion? Have you studied other religions as well, or just Christianity?
Well, I took an interest in Islam because I had friends at school that were Muslims. Yes. In those days, most of them had recently come to Britain, so their English wasn't very good.
I can understand.
I appreciate that. Well, but I knew one guy called Gaffer.
Yeah.
I talked to him quite a bit.
Okay.
And he lent me a couple of books. Yeah.
And have you had the opportunity to study the Quran at all?
Well, you've got to be careful because if you don't do it right, you can get in trouble, can't you? Well, you have to wash your hands and do other things. So.
No, well, I mean, there is an element of respect that we give the Quran before we read it.
The books he lent me explains I mean, it's a lot more logical than Christianity. Yes. Christianity is so riddled with illogicality, you know.
Well, in Islam, we share many of the same traditions and beliefs from all the Abrahamic religions. So from Abraham through Moses through Jesus.
Mind you, do you believe in the books of what we call the Old Testament?
Well, the Pentateuch. Sorry?
Well,
what we believe, the Quran basically affirms that Jesus, peace be upon him, and Prophet Moses.
The prophets of the Old Testament, are they Islamic prophets?
Well, the ones that, I think, if I remember right, there's some 25 prophets that are mentioned in the Quran.
Ezekiel and Isaiah and them, long before Jesus.
Yes, I mean, we were told that there were some 124,000 different prophets sent throughout history. Now, because what we're not told is, as the Christians believe, the Earth is 6,000 years old. The Quran doesn't actually say the Earth is 6,000 years old.
But it does staunchly believe in God.
Seriously?
Sorry. Most Muslims.
Yeah, please go ahead. It's fine, take it.
Most Muslims
believe in the Adam and Eve story. Yes, of course we do. So what's the issue with that? I'm talking about time factor of 6,000 years.
So you actually believe that story?
Yes.
You believe it's a true?
Yes, absolutely.
We're talking snake.
Talking snakes and some of the details that you find in the Bible. If you're talking about Adam and Eve, it's disobeying Allah, disobeying God, and then being sent down to earth, yes, being sent down to believe.
No, it's a fact.
Why do you say that?
Well, because there was no such thing as the first man. That's ludicrous.
Why is that?
Abuses and goes against every fact of science.
What fact's that, sir?
It's fact of evolution.
That's why they call it a theory, sir. They don't call it a fact.
No, it's a scientific theory. It's not like a theory. I think I can jump. I've got a theory. I think I can jump over to that tree. That's not what a scientific theory is. A scientific theory is a body of evidence, a body of testimony. It's not about whether it's true.
Okay, so you believe in evolution?
It's not a question of belief. It is real. It's exactly the theory of gravity. Do you believe in the theory of gravity?
You say you
Of course you do. Well, the theory of
Because
evolution.
it's empirical, isn't it? And
Of course it is.
it's empirical. You can observe it, right?
Of course you can. And there's plenty of empirical evidence for evolution. Plenty. It's actually overwhelming.
What is your view of evolution? Common ancestry from one source?
Well, we share. We've come from a species of mammal. Our particular species come from a species of mammal that lived around sort of 6 to 7 million years ago, and there have been various branches of diversion from that species. To take an old Jewish fairy tale and prescribe it to be literally true is preposterous.
But your view really is that you have scientific fact
Yes.
to support evolution.
Yes.
And the reality of that is that even people like Dawkins
Yes.
say that it's a theory and it's a view. But there are gaping holes in that theory.
Sorry.
There are gaping holes in that theory, right? Like the Cambrian explosion, like the initial concept of life.
Sorry.
The initial concept of life.
Sorry. Evolution is supported through basically 3 or 4 devastatingly strong empirical bits of evidence. That's geological. Yeah, they're absolutely empirical. Of course they are. Well, sorry. Let me just finish. There's geology. There's DNA. DNA evidence. There's fossil evidence. There's comparative timing of comparative species, and we can see how we can compare those. Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
What we do see.
Okay.
We see blades of grass like this.
Right.
We see individual species, and we see slight improvements or changes in those species. What we don't, but no, listen, sir. If we're honest, if we're going to have an honest discussion.
Listen. Every single scientific academy, every single top scientific academy, right?
Dawkins himself says
No, he doesn't.
that what we don't find, and it's a misconception in evolution,
Yes.
that people believe it's one common ancestry. We don't find that. In fact,
Yes, we do.
What we find is we find individual species branching out.
You're wrong. And where does Dawkins say that? Where does he say
I
that?
heard him say on YouTube.
That's nonsense. It's nonsense. That's nonsense because all life essentially springs from one source of life. We don't quite know how that got started.
That's the problem.
No.
That's the issue, isn't it?
No, that's honest. That's called honesty.
Yeah, that's the issue.
That's called.
The issue is this.
Sorry. Let me just land. We do spring from one invariable source of life. Yes, he does. And
He doesn't.
stop misquoting.
I'm not misquoting
Of
you.
course you are.
But then you're calling
okay.
me a liar. I heard him say himself
Okay.
that it's a common
Okay.
fault by evolutionists to believe
Well, you're wrong.
that it's one
You're
common
wrong.
ancestry.
You're completely wrong.
He doesn't say
You're completely wrong. You're completely
So you
right. That isn't how evolution works. Evolution works.
That's fine. Yeah. That's fine.
Evolution works through a process of diffusion, influenced by environment, influenced by genetic need, influenced by.
So can I just say one thing?
Yes.
You clearly believe in evolution.
It's a fact. It's a fact.
Well, there are 600 PhD scientists plus.
Listen.
There
There are tens of thousands. There are tens of
there
thousands
are many
of
people.
scientists. The vast majority, each academy all over the world, including in Islamic countries, never deny the fact of evolution. Each, no less than 90%, no less than 90% of each top academy in the world, including in Islamic countries, right, will never deny the fact of evolution. And if evolution isn't true, can you explain the process of how we're all diverse and
It's a good question. Yes, you can. First of all, before we even get to evolution, we have to talk about this universe.
yes. no man in the past.
Variables.
What do you mean?
What are the variables of how something comes about?
Well, okay, you're going to the cosmological. Okay, let's establish where we are in reality, right? Not sort of influenced or sort of swayed by any religious
It's not religious, it's a reason.
any religious dogma, right?
It's not dogma, it's reasoning.
Let's
It's reasoning. I'm asking you a question.
okay, and I'm going to answer that question.
What are the variables?
Well, I don't quite know what you mean.
I'll explain it. Yes, they are.
Okay.
I'll explain to you what I mean by variables.
Right, okay.
The universe either came about by itself
Right.
or something created it.
No.
Those are the two
No,
variables.
no, they're not
What
two
are
variables.
the variables?
Well, there are all sorts of other
Like what?
opportunities.
Like
Well, we're still working it out.
Like what? What
Okay,
variables?
the universe could have always existed.
That's refutable.
No, it's not. No, it's not, because it's refuted by obviously religious people. Because of course it is.
Hawkins says.
Again, you're quoting another atheist. Listen, stop it. That's ridiculous.
Argument is atheistic belief, right?
Listen.
Your peers are telling you that the universe had at one time existed and at one time it came into
No.
existence. They don't say it's eternal.
Listen.
So this argument is faith-based.
No.
It's not empirical.
This is where we are right now. This is where science is. Not Islamic. This is or Abrahamic.
It's not Abrahamic. It is scientific knowledge, as we understand it today.
This is where science is right now. We do not know what caused the universe to be created. We just don't know that answer. It's not an answer that we know. Okay. It's preposterous to go from that, right? It's preposterous to go from that to saying, an illiterate Bedouin Arab that lived in the Bronze Age spoke to an angel, came down and told him what the truth was. That's preposterous.
Why is that?
Because it's preposterous.
Why is it preposterous?
Well, I mean, there's been not a shred of evidence of anything called an angel. And if you
Look at angels.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the beginning of the universe. I'm not even talking about religion.
Okay.
I'm talking about as a
Okay.
let me talk for 1 minute. I'll give you plenty of time to talk.
Okay.
Yeah. The universe, as we know it today,
Yes.
through empirical data,
Yes.
that we can measure the expansion, and we know that where it began, what point it began, etc., etc. We turn the clock back. We know roughly how many billion years that must have been, and the most well-respected physicists today say at one point the universe did not exist. Now, what Hawkins says is that because there was a law, well, you're going to deny it purely on the basis that it defeats your argument.
No.
But Hawkins says because we had a law like gravity, the universe had to come into being regardless. That's his argument. He says it comes from a vacuum energy. His co-writer, Maladnov, says no vacuum energy, absolute nothing.
You're talking about
Hold on a second.
You're referring to a book that he wrote about 40 years ago.
Well, I'm talking about design, right?
He does not subscribe. I don't know why you're quoting Stephen Hawking.
If I may just
because he
finish.
doesn't subscribe to design argument.
Well, if I may just finish, right? Of course he doesn't.
Yeah,
But what I'm saying to you is that your analysis of how the universe came into being by saying it's eternal is not what is commonly accepted.
No. I'm sorry. I've got to stop you there. I've got to correct you. I don't say it's eternal. I say we don't know.
We do know that it's not eternal.
Well, we don't know.
We do know.
We actually don't know.
If we're
We
going
don't know.
to be honest here,
No, we are being honest.
no, we're not. No,
And
we're not.
science is honest by
excuse
saying
me.
it doesn't
sir,
know.
with all due respect,
Yeah.
you can't tell me my ideas are faith-based
Of course they are.
when your ideas
Muslim, for God's sake.
your ideas are faith-based as well.
You're a Muslim.
Your ideas
for God's
are
sake.
faith-based as well.
Listen.
I believe in evidence.
You believe
I believe in evidence.
that an angel came down to an illiterate and spoke to him and gave him the truth.
What I believe.
That's what you believe.
What I believe.
And you believe in angels and flying horses
With all due
and
respect.
talking snakes.
With all due respect.
Of course you do.
With all due respect.
Yeah.
We're talking about the beginning of the universe, right? And how the universe began.
We don't know.
Now, hold on a second.
Nobody knows.
So therefore, you apply reasoning.
Yes.
And your reasoning will either say to you that however it happened by itself, and I'm not going to I'm not going to attribute
We don't know.
any design.
But I'll tell you why
Hold on a
God.
second,
I'll
hold
tell you
on.
why a
No, let
God
me finish,
is a
sir.
bad
Sir,
argument.
Let me finish, sir.
Okay,
Let me finish, right? And then you're probably quite aware that once a universe comes into being, now let's not argue how that happened. There are many laws of physics that have to be incredibly precise for the universe to even function. Are you aware of that?
Just so we could be
For
created.
example,
So the universe was made
sir,
for us.
For example, the law of gravity. If you stretch a ruler for the entire known length of the universe, that's 14 billion light years.
Listen, I'm
Let
sorry,
me finish,
I
sir.
can't
Let
take
me
it.
finish,
Your
sir.
pseudoscience
Let me finish,
won't
Let
work.
me finish, sir.
Listen,
Let me finish,
listen.
sir. Let me finish, sir.
Okay, alright, go on.
If you stretch a ruler for the entire known length of the universe, that's 14 billion light years across. And if you divide that ruler up into 1-inch increments...
How do you know?
That's because
How do you know?
These are mathematical probabilities.
You're talking
These are
about...
massive...
Listen.
Sir, look, clearly you haven't studied this, but
Listen,
you're willing to just say it's rubbish.
Of course it is.
Because it defeats your argument.
Because you don't know.
These are empirical.
They're not
truths that are
empirical
widely accepted.
anything.
They're widely
No, they're
accepted,
not.
sir.
No, they're
Widely.
not. No, they're not. Now let me come back. You're talking about the universe was created, and so you profess a creator.
Yes.
Okay. And religious people do this all the time. You know, atheists do this all the time. They say, well, everything was created. That camera was created. That railing was created. This tent's created. That tree, was created. Well, it wasn't created. It was part of the evolutionary process. But this table was created. That book was created. And therefore, that ultimately the ultimate creator there must be an ultimate creator.
Yes.
Right? There's a couple of massive
Well,
problems.
for me, I tell you what's illogical.
Sorry. Let me just finish, and I'll let you go back.
Please do that, yeah.
Okay. There's a massive problem with that. And religious people say, well, nothing complicated can just puff into existence. There was a creator that created it.
Well, nothing can
Right,
come
okay.
into existence regardless
Okay.
of complexity.
Okay, well, the more complicated the things are, right, we know from experience that they're made, aren't they? Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Right, good. Right. Now, would you say that God, at least your God, your version of God, is at least as complicated as a mind, at least as complicated as a human mind? At least.
Perhaps much
more complicated.
Much more.
And we know, right, that, we essentially evolved. That is we didn't sort of it wasn't built around a silly Jewish story about a talking snake
So make your point, because you're moving away now.
we evolved, right? Okay. Now, if you propose that there's a God and nothing comes into existence just because it needs to be created, then you need to explain who created God.
No, you don't need to.
You do.
I'll tell you why you don't need to.
Okay.
Because the thing that creates everything, if it
Yes.
was created as well,
Yes.
then nothing would be created.
It's
Because you have
ridiculous.
infinite regress.
Listen, you don't
That's
get
logic,
to
that's
cheat.
reasoning.
You don't
That's
get to
reasoning.
cheat.
It's not about cheating.
You don't get to
It's
cheat.
about using your logic and reasoning.
No, it's not. It's not logical.
Now, listen, you've
If you
spoken
propose,
quite a lot.
okay, go on.
Now you've got to let me speak, yeah?
Okay.
We were talking about the universe.
Right.
How the universe came into existence.
Doesn't help your
Hold on a second. I think it destroys yours.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't help because you
what-
can't get from
I'll tell you-
there
I'll tell you what-
to a man in a
I'll tell-
cave
I'll tell
talking
you-
to an angel.
I'll tell you
You
why
can't-
it does.
you can't
I'll
do
tell you
it.
why it does.
It doesn't.
Because when we look at the infinitesimally small probabilities,
Yes.
that the balanced, precise nature of physics that needs to exist for life to even have a chance. Space here. You don't mind. I'll put it against So if we look at the precise nature, as I was describing to you, the law of gravity. Now, if you don't know, then by all means, go away and find out. Don't deny what I'm saying, despite not investigating
I am
it for
denying
yourself.
what you're saying.
Because you haven't
I am
investigated
denying what
it.
you're saying.
Now,
Completely.
the law of gravity alone
Yes.
is, if you change it by 1 part in 100 billion, then human beings can't survive
How do you
on
know?
Earth.
How do you know?
Because that is empirical
How do you know?
data.
What are your sources?
There were 2 Norwegian scientists
Yeah, go on.
that explained the cosmological constant.
Which ones? Who are they?
The names escape me,
Yeah,
but
I bet they
you can
do.
Google it.
Listen.
No, hold on a second.
Okay.
And they predicted that the expansion of the universe, that the force required was so precise.
I want the names of the scientists.
I'll find out for you on Google. Norwegian scientists, cosmological constant. Find that. Right? They said it's like balancing a pencil on its lead for billions of years. That's how they described it.
Okay.
Now, what they're trying to say basically is this. You see, look, as far as the precision of physics is concerned, that's not deniable. Nobody denies that. Neither does Hawkins, nobody denies that.
Sorry.
But you deny it because it's convenient to deny it. So what you have to ask, the question that you need to ask, see look, you can't conveniently,
because you have no empirical data for those claims.
You can't deny everything that destroys your argument.
No. Sorry. There's a fundamental difference between people that think scientifically and non-believers like me, and people that are entrenched in some sort of religious belief, in that we are prepared to change our minds. We are talking about religion. Are you not a Muslim?
I'm a Muslim.
Good.
You're talking about, excuse me, because you're talking about science, and you're talking about scientific theory as to why we got here, then I have to talk to you about science.
Okay.
There's no point me talking about the miracle of the Quran, the miraculous
Sorry.
As far as you're concerned, we're not going to discuss that, right?
I am going to discuss. No. You want to keep it on the scientific. You don't want to discuss the ridiculousness of that book.
I have no problem.
Okay, well, we're going to come on to the Quran. You're not going to get away from the Quran with me. We're going to come on to that.
I'm not going anyway, sir.
Now, the problem with your argument is that you can't just assert that there's always been a creator without any evidence. What you have to do is provide empirical evidence, and you can't. Nobody can do that. Secondly, the theist argument is terrible because this God of yours is really complicated.
That's not really. Why are we jumping? We have to first define.
Listen. I've already stated my position.
Even
Listen.
if you get past,
Listen.
even if you get past
Yeah.
all the conception of the universe, all the theories that have to be in place, the laws that have to be in place, even if you get past that, where does biological life come from in the universe? A sterile environment.
So, hold
for
on.
many millions of years,
There's
millions of degrees centigrade.
There's various theories around that. Although we don't have a concrete watertight theory about how the soup itself created life and got life going. We don't actually know that. And that's,
we tried it, Stanley Miller in the 50s and the 60s, he tried to get the atmospheric conditions.
Well, listen. Scientists.
Compounds, they gave up on the idea.
Okay. Listen.
Because what they realized was that biological life, as was thought by Darwin, like a blob, a jello, was in fact an incredibly complicated bit of machinery.
Sorry.
Incredibly complicated bit of kit.
It's nonsense.
And DNA that you talked about, it's like having volumes and volumes and volumes of a book like that.
It still doesn't help.
Changing one letter.
It doesn't help.
And then the thing
It doesn't help you. It doesn't.
Of course it does.
It doesn't help.
Of course
it doesn't help. It doesn't help. Now, your God is extremely complicated. That's a massive problem.
Why?
Okay, I'll tell you why. Because everything that we know that's complicated evolves. It's everything. And God is a thing.
No.
Yes, He is.
Everything is created.
Listen.
And God is
The
not
concept.
created.
Actually, gods are just manifests of human imagination.
That's what you believe.
Well, of course it is. Those are the facts.
No, that's not a fact, sir.
Of course it is. That's why there's so many of them.
Okay.
That's why Muslims can't even agree what type of.
You know why that's ludicrous? Because the atheist doesn't say that.
It's completely. No,
That's ludicrous.
all atheists say.
So you're saying with a certainty.
Yes.
That there is no God, and that however it happened, everything happened by itself. That's what you're saying.
Okay.
So how are you so certain about that?
Okay.
What's your certainty about that?
Let me just break things down. Atheists don't say there definitely is no God. We don't say that.
You just said that.
No. Well, okay. Atheists definitely don't say there is no God. What we say is there's not a shred of evidence for any type of creator God. Not a shred, not a drop,
You just have to
not
open
a
your eyes
smidgen.
and look around.
No.
Evidence.
There is no shred of evidence.
Of course.
No, especially the Abrahamic gods. There's been hundreds and hundreds of gods, and I don't know why Muslims want special pleading for their god. there's no evidence for
We
it.
don't say there are hundreds of gods. We say there is one
Listen,
creator.
listen.
We say
No.
there is one
I'm
creator
talking
at
about
a time.
I'm talking about the facts.
So
The facts are.
Because,
Okay.
No, because you keep talking about facts.
Okay.
As if it's an empirical reality.
Okay.
When in fact it's not. It's your opinion.
Do you deny?
It's your opinion.
Okay.
It's not an empirical fact.
Okay.
By you saying it's a fact doesn't make it a fact.
Okay.
It's your view.
Okay. Do you deny that there has been hundreds of gods throughout the evolution of mankind? Do you deny that?
But people have worshipped all sorts of different things.
No, they're gods. As far as they were concerned,
As far as
they
they
were
were concerned.
they were gods,
Yes.
right? Human beings have manifested and magicked up all sorts of,
Yes.
incredible
Yes.
magic and imaginary friends,
Yes.
haven't they?
Yes.
Good. Right. So what I'm saying is
Does
that,
that mean they're all wrong?
of course they are.
Why?
Of course they are. Well, because they can't. Because they have complete.
What are the variables?
Can I?
What are the variables?
Hey, how you doing? Right.
What are the variables?
Okay, the variables. They have
They
complete.
can either be all wrong,
Okay. The variables are. Can you just let me?
they can either be all wrong,
Okay, can you just let me finish
some
what
of
I'm
them
going to
can
say?
be wrong.
I'll let you
Or
come
some of
back.
them can be right.
I'll let you come back. I'll let you come back.
Three possibilities.
They've got competing, wildly competing fairy stories
that's got nothing to do
of
with it.
creation.
That's got nothing to
There are
do
three
with it.
logical
Right.
possibilities.
Right.
Three
Right.
possibilities.
Yes.
Right? They've got wildly competing fairy stories.
Does that mean they're all wrong?
Right? Of course it does.
Why? Why does it mean that?
Well,
That's not logical.
because
That's not logical, is it?
well, because
Most of them can be wrong.
because until they can provide specific empirical proof that their God is real, right? Then they're all imaginary.
Doesn't follow.
Of course it does.
Absence of evidence, not evidence of absence. It's a basic axiom
Right,
for philosophy.
right,
That refutes your position.
Okay, no, it doesn't. Because in the end,
Absence of evidence is not the evidence of
philosophy doesn't count for jot in the real world. Okay, you can. No, it does not.
When I
No, it
studied
does
philosophy
not.
at university, do you know how many of us went on to get very good jobs where our analytical skills were used?
I don't care. I don't care.
He doesn't care about any evidence that you provide.
Listen. Providing empirical proof, I presume you have an imaginary friend as well, is the bottom line.
Let's just hold it.
That's
Let's
the
just
example of
Hold on a second.
Yeah, go on.
Right, now listen. Your view
no manners.
that the universe
Yes.
came about by itself.
Well, we don't know. We actually don't know how the
With the
universe came
absence
about.
of God. Is that your view, right?
Sorry?
Your view is that the universe came about with the absence of a creator, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Your view then is
Yes.
that all of the laws of physics that are incredibly precise, they happened to come about by their measure accidentally, randomly as well. Right? No, hold on a second.
Well,
they had to. According to your argument, they had to.
We don't.
No, sir.
wasn't a reason.
It's not complicated. It's a very simple question. Right? The universe came about by itself. All of the laws of physics came about randomly. Hold on a second, sir.
I have to correct
Sir,
you
can
there.
I just-
I'm not saying that the universe came back by itself.
Sir.
We don't know how it
Okay,
came
but
about.
it wasn't
That's-
created, right? As far as
Well,
you're
it wasn't
concerned.
created by a sentient thinking creator.
How do you know
right?
that?
Right, no,
You don't
hold on
know,
a
then you say
second.
it
No, hold on a second.
Because
Hold on a second.
You can't say you don't know, and then you say it wasn't created by X. That is a contradictory statement.
Okay.
That's why
Okay.
basic philosophical training
Okay.
enables you to think clearly,
No, it does-
which
it
you
doesn't.
have rejected. Hence, you cannot think clearly.
Philosophy muddies the water.
You've never
right?
studied philosophy.
It muddies the water.
You've never studied philosophy. You know that wasn't true. Sorry, you were saying.
The process of what we know of how things are created, right, come through a complicated process, right? Come through a complicated evolutionary-like type process of growth. You know, complicated things don't just puff into existence, right? Gods are incredibly complicated.
Sir, can I just
right?
cut
Gods are
Listen, you've said that about 5 times.
simple.
You've said that 5 times, right? You've said that 5 times. There are 2 arguments here, they're logical. You are taking the stance that the universe, however it happened with the absence of a creator. So somehow it came into being by itself, right? Without anything creating it. Is that a fair statement?
Well,
Is that
no.
fair?
I'm saying that The jury is out. We don't know how that initial event
So you're
happened.
saying it could be a creator, right? Is that what you're saying?
It could be.
Right, okay, excellent.
It could be, but it would not the sort of creator that answers prayers, that cares about what you're wearing.
Let's worry about that afterwards.
You know, cares about what food you eat, cares about who you sleep
Hold on a
with.
second. Let's move logically.
Yeah.
So sir, hold on a
Cares
second.
about your.
Sir, please.
Yeah, go on.
Let's move logically, right?
Yeah.
So if you say there is a possibility,
Yeah.
then there are some logical questions that you could ask.
Sure.
Number one, what sort of a creator is this creator?
It'd have to be extremely simple.
Hold on a second, right? So, does this creator want what's beneficial to me?
No.
Or just leave me to do whatever I want to do?
It's definitely.
Okay. No, but you can't say definitely.
Yeah, of course, man. Because that's what we see. That's what we see.
Hold on a second.
That's what we see.
Sir, hold on a second, right? Would this creator...
What, are you a Muslim?
Sir.
Well, you're not going to see that, are you?
Sir, listen.
Exactly.
So if you say there is a
Well,
creator... Sir, please.
Listen, no.
Let's keep it simple.
Listen, I just
If
want
you
to
say that there is
Of course you're not going to see it because you believe in flying horses and talking snakes.
No, I don't.
Of course you do. Of course, yes you do.
You're the most.
Yes, you do.
But why are atheists so arrogant?
No, we're not arrogant. No, we're not arrogant. We're that arrogant. We're so arrogant that we believe that the universe was created for us by our special imaginary friend.
We don't believe that. We don't believe that either.
If the universe, as you said, might have been created by a creator, why do you have a problem with flying horses if the creator has made a flying horse? What's the problem with that?
Listen.
What is the problem with that?
No, because
Why do you have a problem with that?
Because it's a silly story.
No, why?
It's a silly, it's a silly,
So
ridiculous
what
story.
you're saying-
Because we don't witness flying horses.
So what you're saying
Yes.
is...
And
It was like
we never have.
Hold on a second. Please. Boys, please. One at a time.
That's it.
Boys. So your subjective reasoning says to you that something is illogical, and therefore it must be right.
Sorry.
Now, what I would say, hold on a second. Now, what I would say to you, hold on a second.
Language and speech won't help you. It comes down to the bottom line of reality. You have to provide empirical evidence to profess your point. If you can't do that, then it goes into the catalogue of imaginary stories.
Okay, fine. This table,
Yes.
when I got here,
Yes.
it just popped out of thin air. All this writing, all these books, all these words, they just suddenly appeared in front of me. Would you believe that story?
No, because we know where books come from, we know where tables come from, we know where tents come from. They're made by human beings. Human beings are a process of evolution over millions of
So
years.
the more complex something is,
Yes,
it has to be brought into being. Right?
exactly.
Right. It can't
Gods
just
are
pop up.
very complex.
Now the universe.
Where does God come
Now
from?
the universe.
How do you know?
Hold on a second.
How do you know?
Hold on.
How do you know? Did Allah tell you?
God has to be extremely simple.
Did Allah tell you? Did Allah tell you that he's not very complicated? Well, did Allah tell you that he wasn't very complicated? It's complicated as my brain. Is Allah as complicated as my brain?
We're getting confusing here.
It's complicated as a human
One or
brain.
two people talk here.
My brain is reasonably complicated. Not that.
What is the definition of complexity that God couldn't be existing?
Did Allah tell you that he wasn't complicated? Did Allah? No, I'm asking you a question. I'm asking you a question. Did Allah tell you that he wasn't complicated?
He don't need to tell us.
This
It's irrelevant. We don't
Does
know
Allah
how
tell you?
complex or simple God is.
Yes.
Interrupt me again.
I'm going to interrupt you lots of times. Lots of times. Did Allah tell you? And I bet Allah sounds just like you, doesn't it?
Can we calm things down a little bit because we're having a discussion here? Now listen to me. Let's stay calm. Let's stay calm. Because
You can call me arrogant all day. I don't believe that the world was
Brother,
made for
can I
me.
just say
I don't
one thing?
believe.
Brother,
I don't believe that
Listen to me.
humans. This planet was created. Was created for human beings.
Listen to me.
It's preposterous.
Listen, we can both disagree, right?
Okay.
We're human beings, right? We can still have respect for one another.
No.
As human beings.
No.
As human beings.
I'll go
you
that
might
far.
not respect my
Not for
ideas.
Islam,
Okay,
not
fine.
for
That's
Islam,
fine.
no.
That's fine.
Or Judaism or
Okay,
Christianity.
That's fine. But listen, that's fine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we can still be civil, right? And we can have a discussion. And if you disagree and you walk away, and I disagree with your opinion, that's fine. We're still human beings.
Sure. I completely
So
concur
let's
with
calm
that.
things down. Right? Now listen to me.
Now this guy's pouring poison into the
Listen, calm things down. Listen. Now you agreed that if I said to you that this table with these leaflets simply popped up in front of my eyes, you would say that is ridiculous.
Of course it is.
Right, now,
just like a flying horse or a talking snake.
Okay, hold on a second.
Yeah, go on.
But you postulate.
Or an angel coming down to talk
sir,
to me.
please. Listen,
Go on.
sir, but you postulate
Yeah, go on.
that this universe
Yes.
with more stars
Yes.
than grains of sand on every beach on the earth
Exactly. Yes.
comes about,
Yes.
self-perpetuated from nothingness, and nothing brings it into being.
Okay.
And that to use
Okay.
logic. That's where the reason. That's where the reason.
Okay. Let me state this again. Science doesn't know. No man alive knows what the initial conditions were that got the universe going. We just don't know that question,
There are some,
right?
sir, there are some universal truths that we recognize, don't we, as human beings.
Right.
So when we see something complex
Right.
in its construction, in its design, in its function, we attribute something that must have created that with a mind to be able to do that.
Okay.
So when we see a space station or a rocket ship or a satellite, we admire the engineering dynamics, the mechanics, the intellect that went into that. So when we look at DNA, when we look at the biological cell,
It doesn't help you. Complexity doesn't help you because your God is very complex, right? Your God's very complex.
Sir, whether God is complex or not complex,
That means
what we have
that
to
you have to provide. If you know there's a God, if you know that there's a God, and most of the crowd here probably know there's a God, right? If you know there's a God, then you have to provide evidence for that God, right?
Sir, what is evidence? What do you regard as evidence? So what do you regard as evidence? Can I just ask you?
I regard evidence as something that we can test.
Yes.
That we tested repeatably.
Yes.
That is verifiably open to verification through other sources, external sources. Something that that is empirical in its nature, right?
Let me give you an example of some of the things that I've heard recently. You may deny it, but by all means, go on YouTube, you'll find it. I'm saying it. Dawkins, the evolutionist himself said, when we look at modern day evolution, biology, DNA, the sheer complexity that we find there, he argues, there could have been some intelligence somewhere, but it's not
No,
God.
he does not say that at all.
But why would he lie?
He doesn't mention intelligence at all. He doesn't.
What good reason does he
Can I just talk to
He
this?
says that whether it's alien or something else.
No, he
on a
did
very
not say
superior-
that. Okay.
Give me one good reason why would he lie?
This is what
denying everything
he
I'm
says. He said it gives the appearance. It gives the appearance of a designer because of the sheer complexity and diversity.
That's your evidence.
He doesn't postulate a designer,
Sir, but
right?
that's your evidence.
He does not postulate a designer, and his explanation is that genes are the driving entity that look for diversity in order to survive and propagate themselves, right? And so they will find any tiny way that they can to propagate a being or a species to survive
the more we find out about science,
and bend to its environment.
The more we find out about science,
Aliens, he said about aliens that it's very, very probable in the vastness and the sheer number of planets and suns and universes that we have, that we can see, that are available to us, right? That there's probably some form of advanced alien life. It's probably,
he didn't say that.
right?
Anyway, let's
yes, he did.
Sir, look.
He did say that. Right? Yes, he did.
Listen to me.
Yes, he did.
Let's leave out. Let's leave that out because clearly
Why
you don't
would he
agree.
lie?
No, it doesn't matter. You clearly don't agree. You clearly don't agree, and I don't agree with that assertion. But however,
You're misinterpreting what he said.
When you get time, go on YouTube. You might find.
I've heard what he said, and I've seen what he said.
So there are two main arguments here.
Yes.
One is that the universe came about by itself, and the laws of physics, the biology, everything
I
that we
keep on
find.
telling
So please, let me just finish. It happened, however it happened by itself, with the absence of a creator.
Right.
Right. Now, I would argue, for me, because evidence is somewhat subjective.
Well,
isn't it?
okay.
No,
I'm not saying it happened definitely without a creator, but I'm stating
Yes.
that creative entity
Yes.
would have to be extremely simple.
Well, we don't know, sir, because we don't know the nature of God.
Well, that would make sense, because
We say-
the more complicated things are,
Yes.
right, the more explanation that we need for its own creation. And that's the problem with gods. Gods
So
are
let me-
very
let me ask
complicated.
you something. Let me
Gods
ask-
are very complicated.
If-
They need an explanation for their existence.
You said that there is a possibility of some sort of creator. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you would argue that that creator must be incredibly intelligent.
No.
Well, to make DNA,
No.
to make biology, to make the universe.
No.
You don't require intelligence?
No. I would keep.
Stop wasting your time.
I would.
Don't waste your time.
I would keep. I would keep
Can you make
things.
DNA? Can you make it
No,
yourself?
no.
So God's cleverer than you then, right?
Well, there's no such thing as a god. Gods are a figment of
You said there's possible.
man's.
Sir, I'm giving you...
Not the sort of God not the sort of Abrahamic
Sir,
fairy tales that you.
Why do you keep bringing up Abraham?
Because you're a Muslim.
I'm saying...
Because you're a
if you
Muslim,
say there
and
is
you're,
sir,
the foundation of your
sir,
belief are
Let me just
Abrahamic.
explain
Are you
something.
denying
Let
that?
them talk, please.
No, but that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is this.
No,
sir.
that is what
You
we're talking
said
about. That's
that
what you're talking
No,
about.
sir,
I'm talking
sir,
about what I'm talking
sir,
about.
with all due respect, you said
What?
there's a possibility of a creator, right?
A very simple creation.
Okay, well, you say it's simple, right? Okay, but you can't say that for certain, simple or complex, can you?
Well, we can't say anything for
Right,
certain.
exactly. So, therefore, it's ludicrous to argue whether it's simple or complicated, right? Right. It's silly, isn't it?
No,
It's silly
no, it's
Well,
not.
Why are we
It's
arguing
not.
about something you
because,
don't know?
Because I've explained to you already. If you're going to postulate a complicated designer, then you have to tell us where that complicated designer came from.
That's fine.
Where does it come
That's
from?
a good question.
Where does it come
And
from?
the answer to that is this: that the very fact, the very testimony that the universe is here, that we exist, something must have created it. And whatever created it cannot be created.
Why not?
If it were,
Why not?
because there's a logical reasoning behind that.
What do you know? No,
If
there's
it
not.
were, so if
Look,
it,
whose logic?
Let me finish. If it were, then you'd have infinite regress. In other words, one
So
creator
what?
to another creator.
So what?
So there'd be no universe. So we wouldn't be
Why
here talking.
do you work that out?
We wouldn't be
How
here
do you work
talking
that out?
Because there'd be infinite regress. There'd be no starting of the universe. And that's a
Why not?
And that's a logical
Why not?
argument. Now, you may disagree
I
with it.
completely disagree.
Right.
That's a logical fallacy.
Well, for you it is, yes. For you it is, right? But for me,
What a
the very
ridiculous
testimony,
what
the very
ridiculous argument.
testimony that I'm here, that this universe is here, means that something created it. If that creator was also
created the creator?
What created the creator? What did it?
If that creator was all...
Listen, we're not going to let you off the hook. We're not going to let you off the hook.
Finish, sir.
What created the
Let
creator?
me finish. If that creator...
Exactly.
Are you going to answer your own questions then?
No, go on.
Well, you asked me a question, you've got to let me answer it.
No. Okay, go on.
Exactly. There is common sense there, sir. The common sense is this. If that creator also had to be created, then there would be no creation. Because you'd have infinite regress. One creator creating another creator, creating another creator. The very testimony that the universe is here means there had to be an eternal creator that never began and that never will end.
what's wrong with
That's
It doesn't
logical.
help you.
Well-
It doesn't get you off the hook. It doesn't answer the question. Okay? I'll ask you again. How do you
Brother,
know?
ask you, what's the heaven
How
law?
do you know? How do you know that there was a creator? And who created that creator?
We're all here.
And
That's the
what? That's a better question. What created
You can't answer the question, can you?
Creator is not created.
You haven't. You've said nothing. You've said nothing. What you've done is spout illogical fallacy.
I'm giving you logical reasoning.
What you've done
Logical
is
reasoning.
listen. What you've done is spout an illogical fallacy. Just because you put a postulate a creator, out of fresh air. You just said, yeah, there's a creator, and he's always been there.
So it's called
You can't provide any empirical proof, no physical proof whatsoever.
Because he didn't let him speak.
And I've given him plenty of opportunity.
He did
He's just going round and round in circles.
Divert.
And he thinks by waffling about philosophy and cosmology, he'll get himself out of it. You're not. I've asked you, who created the creator?
What created the
I've
creator?
given you it's called a reasoned argument.
Nobody
It's
knows.
not.
Reasoned.